help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts on the video. Your feedback helps make the contents better. Now let's get to the story.
My wife walked through the front door at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, clutching her stomach like she'd just eaten bad sushi. Her face was pale, her voice shaky as she told me she needed to lie down immediately. Something about severe cramps and nausea. I suggested we go to the emergency room, but she practically shouted no before catching herself and softening it to a weak, "I just need rest, honey." That should have been my first clue. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Daniel Harris. I'm 34 years old, a software engineer who works from home 3 days a week, which apparently made me the perfect fool. I've got the kind of face people call trustworthy. Brown eyes, a smile that comes easy, the type of guy who holds doors open and remembers birthdays. For 8 years, I thought I had a solid marriage with my wife, Rachel. She's a dental hygienist with blonde hair she spends too much on, a laugh that used to make me feel like I'd won something, and apparently a talent for deception that could have earned her an Oscar. We live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Charlotte, North Carolina, the kind of place where everyone waves at each other and pretends not to notice when someone's grass gets too long. White picket fences, homeowners association meetings, the whole American dream package. I thought we were happy. Shows what I know. That Tuesday afternoon, I brought Rachel water, crackers, and tea. I dimmed the bedroom lights and tiptoed around the house like a church mouse, the devoted husband, the caring partner, the complete idiot. She stayed in bed for 3 hours, emerging around 5 p.m. looking miraculously recovered, just in time to start dinner like nothing had happened. I asked how she was feeling, and she gave me this brave little smile that said, "I'm pushing through for us, baby." I actually felt guilty for having a work call scheduled that evening. This became a pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for the next month, Rachel would come home sick. Sometimes it was migraines, sometimes stomach issues. Once she claimed she'd almost fainted at work and needed to recover. Being the concerned husband, I started keeping track, suggesting she see a doctor about these recurring episodes. She'd brush me off, saying it was just stress. Maybe her hormones, definitely nothing to worry about. But here's the thing about working from home. You notice patterns. I noticed that on her sick days, Rachel's car would be gone for exactly 4 hours. I noticed she'd shower immediately after these episodes, even on days she claimed she'd been too weak to move. I noticed her phone was suddenly password protected, and she'd started tilting it away from me when she texted. Most damning of all, I noticed she'd stopped looking me in the eye. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'm not ashamed either. I installed a tracking app on her phone during one of her long showers. The app was designed for parents to monitor their kids, which felt appropriately ironic. Turns out, my wife needed a babysitter. The following Tuesday, I watched that little blue dot on my screen move across town to an address I didn't recognize. Not the hospital, not her workplace. A residence on Elm Street, about 20 minutes from our house. She stayed there for 3.5 hours before driving home to play sick in our bed. I sat there staring at my computer screen, my coffee going cold, feeling something dark and heavy settle in my chest. It wasn't quite anger yet, more like the moment before a storm when the air pressure changes and you know something bad is coming. I could have confronted her right then, could have blown up, packed her bags, done the whole dramatic scene. But something stopped me. Maybe it was curiosity about how deep the lie went. Maybe it was the programmer in me wanting to gather all the data before executing the solution. Or maybe I just wanted to make sure she earned every single consequence coming her way. I decided to follow her the next Thursday. Called in sick to my own job for the first time in 2 years. The irony wasn't lost on me. I watched Rachel leave for work that morning like always, kissing my cheek and telling me she'd pick up groceries on the way home. Such a thoughtful wife. I waited 30 minutes, then drove to a spot where I could see her office parking lot. Sure enough, at 1 p.m., she left. I followed her silver Honda Civic through town, keeping 3 cars back like I was in some kind of noir film. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. Part of me still hoped there was an explanation. Maybe she was planning a surprise party. Maybe she was secretly training for a marathon and embarrassed about her slow times. Maybe I was the crazy one, the paranoid husband destroying his marriage over nothing. Then she pulled into the driveway of a modest two-story house with blue shutters, and a man opened the door before she even knocked. He was tall, dark-haired, wearing a polo shirt and khakis like he'd just gotten off a golf course. They didn't hug on the doorstep, too visible for that, but the way he touched her lower back as she walked inside, guiding her like he owned her, told me everything I needed to know. I sat in my car 3 houses down, engine off, feeling like I was watching my life through someone else's eyes. This couldn't be my marriage, my Rachel, the woman who cried during dog food commercials and insisted on making homemade birthday cards, the woman who'd promised me forever in front of 200 witnesses and a very expensive photographer. I took photos, lots of them. Her car in his driveway, the timestamp clear. Then I did something that surprised even me. I got out of my car and walked up to his house like I belonged there. The adrenaline made me bold or stupid, probably both. I peeked through the side window, careful to stay hidden behind the hedge. What I saw made my stomach turn. They were in the living room and they weren't wasting time. Her hands were in his hair, his were everywhere else, and they were kissing like the world was ending. I'd seen Rachel kiss me 1,000 times, but never like that. Never with that hunger, that desperation. I was the comfortable husband. He was the fantasy. The difference was clear as day, even through a dirty window. I went back to my car, pulled out my laptop, and connected to the home security camera I'd installed 6 months earlier. Rachel didn't know I could access it remotely. Why would she? Trusting husband, remember?
I scrolled back through the footage, and there it was, my wife, sneaking the guy into our house 2 weeks ago when I'd been at my mother's for the afternoon. They were in our living room, on our couch, the same couch where we watched Netflix every night. I felt sick, but I kept watching, kept recording, kept documenting. Evidence. I needed evidence. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I hired a private investigator, a tired-looking woman named Janet who'd seen this story 1,000 times. She got me everything. Photos, timestamps, even a recording of Rachel and her lover at a coffee shop planning their next afternoon. Turns out his name was Marcus Webb. He sold insurance, and he'd been screwing my wife for 4 months. But here's where it gets interesting. Janet earned her fee by digging deeper. Marcus was married too. His wife's name was Patricia, a nurse who worked long shifts at the hospital, which explained his free afternoons. They had 2 kids, a mortgage, and apparently no idea that Dad was spending his lunch breaks auditioning for a low-budget porno. I looked at Patricia's Facebook profile one night, a glass of whiskey in my hand that I didn't remember pouring. She looked tired but happy in her photos. Proud mom, dedicated wife, probably believed her marriage was as solid as I'd thought mine was. In one picture, she was wearing scrubs and holding a birthday cake for one of her kids, grinning at the camera like she'd won the lottery. My chest tightened. We were both being played by people who'd promised to love us. That's when the idea hit me. Revenge is a dish best served cold, they say, but I was thinking it might taste better shared. I created a fake email account and sent Patricia a simple message. Your husband is having an affair with my wife. If you want proof, meet me at the Starbucks on Main Street this Saturday at 10 a.m. I'll be wearing a blue baseball cap. We both deserve to know the truth. I half expected her not to show. Who meets a stranger claiming your spouse is cheating? But Saturday morning, I walked into that Starbucks, and there she was, a petite brunette with tired eyes and a wedding ring she kept twisting around her finger. She'd come. She knew something was wrong, even if she didn't want to believe it. Patricia? I kept my voice low, gentle. She nodded, looking like she might bolt any second. I sat down across from her and slid a folder across the table. I'm Daniel. I'm sorry we have to meet like this. She opened the folder with shaking hands. I'd organized it carefully. Photos, dates, times, locations. Her face went white, then red, then white again. She looked up at me with eyes that were trying hard not to cry. How long? Her voice cracked. 4 months, from what I can tell. She closed the folder, pressing her palms flat against it like she could erase what was inside. I thought he was working late. He said he was taking clients out, building the business. She laughed, but it was the saddest sound I'd ever heard. I picked up extra shifts to help with the bills. I was so proud of him for working so hard. I told Rachel she was sick. I made her tea. We sat there in that Starbucks, two strangers united by betrayal, and something shifted. Patricia's face changed from shock to something harder, sharper. She opened the folder again, studying each photo like she was memorizing them. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I was hoping we could coordinate," I said. "They've been playing us both. Maybe it's time we evened the score." Patricia's smile was small but fierce. "I'm listening." Over the next week, Patricia and I became unlikely allies. We met 3 more times, planning our approach like generals before a battle. She brought medical records. Turns out Rachel had gone to a clinic for STD testing 2 months ago. Clean results, thankfully, but the fact that she'd gone at all told us she'd been worried about who else Marcus might be sleeping with. Patricia had found text messages on Marcus's tablet that he'd forgotten to delete. Explicit photos, plans, promises he'd made to my wife about leaving his family soon. The texts made it clear this wasn't just physical. They thought they were in love. Marcus called Rachel his soulmate. Rachel called him her escape. Reading those messages felt like being stabbed repeatedly, but it also hardened something inside me. These weren't just 2 people who made a drunken mistake. They'd built a whole relationship on our backs, using the time and trust we gave them to create their little fantasy world. Patricia's revenge instinct was stronger than mine. She wanted them humiliated. She said during one of our meetings, "I want everyone they know to see exactly who they really are." I respected that, but I'm a details guy, so I suggested we be smart about it. Emotional satisfaction is great, but legal protection is better. We both consulted lawyers separately. Mine was a shark in a suit named Linda who actually smiled when I showed her my evidence. She helped me prepare divorce papers that would protect my assets and make sure Rachel got exactly what she deserved, which, legally speaking, wasn't much. Patricia did the same. Then we planned the reveal. Thanksgiving was coming. Both of our families did big gatherings, the kind where aunts and cousins and friends all pile into someone's house to eat too much and pretend to like each other. This year, Rachel had volunteered to host at our place. Her parents were coming, her sister, her college best friend. Marcus's family was gathering at his house with Patricia's parents in town. Perfect. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I told Rachel I needed to run to the store for last-minute supplies. Instead, I met Patricia at a print shop where we'd prepared our materials. We'd created identical presentations, clean, professional-looking slideshows that could have been from a corporate meeting. Each one was titled "The Truth About Rachel and Marcus." We loaded them onto USB drives. Patricia would handle her family gathering. I would handle mine. Thanksgiving Day arrived with Rachel in full hostess mode. She'd been cooking since dawn, her hair perfect, her smile bright as she greeted her family at the door. Her mother hugged me and told me how lucky Rachel was to have such a supportive husband. Her father shook my hand and asked about work. Her sister complimented the house decorations. Everyone was so happy, so grateful, so completely unaware. We ate dinner. I carved the turkey while Rachel poured wine. I laughed at her father's jokes and complimented her mother's pie recipe. I played the role of devoted husband one last time, and I played it perfectly. Rachel kept touching my arm, kissing my cheek, performing for her audience. Looking at her, I wondered which version was real, this one or the woman who moaned another man's name into our security camera footage. After dinner, when everyone was full and relaxed in the living room, I stood up and clinked my glass like I was about to make a toast. "Thanks, everyone, for coming," I said, my voice steady. "Before we have dessert, Rachel and I wanted to share something with you, a little presentation about our year." Rachel's face showed confusion, but she smiled, probably thinking I'd put together some cutesy photo slideshow. Her mother actually cooed with excitement. I connected my laptop to the TV. "This has been quite a year," I continued.
full of surprises, and I think it's important that family knows the truth about what's been going on. The first slide appeared on the screen. It was a photo of Rachel and Marcus kissing in his driveway, the date and time stamped clearly in the corner. The room went silent. Not the comfortable silence of people watching home videos, the awful silence of a bomb going off. Rachel's face went from confused to horrified in about 2 seconds. "Daniel, what are you—" "Please, honey, let me finish," I said, my voice dripping with the sarcasm I've been holding back for weeks. "I worked really hard on this." The next slide showed them entering his house, then exiting hours later, then text messages, screenshots of Marcus calling her beautiful, Rachel responding with heart emojis and promises to leave her boring husband soon. That last part got a gasp from her mother. "Daniel, stop this right now." Rachel was on her feet trying to grab the laptop. I stepped away, keeping it out of reach. "Why? I thought family should share everything. Isn't that what you always say?" Her father stood up, his face purple. "What the hell is going on?" "Your daughter has been having an affair for 4 months," I said, calmly, advancing to the next slide, the medical clinic paperwork with Rachel's STD test results. "She's been telling me she was sick so she could spend her afternoons with Marcus Webb, insurance salesman, also married, also a liar." Rachel's sister was crying. Her mother looked like she might faint. Her best friend was staring at Rachel like she'd never seen her before. "Those are private," Rachel screamed, her voice shrill. "You violated my privacy." "I violated our marriage," I shot back. Figured turnabout was fair play. The final slides were the pièce de résistance, screenshots of their texts planning to leave us both after the holidays so they wouldn't ruin Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thoughtful of them, really. "I filed for divorce," I continued, pulling the papers from my back pocket and dropping them on the coffee table. "Your lawyer will receive copies tomorrow. The house is in my name, so you'll need to find somewhere else to stay. I'd suggest Marcus's place, but I'm told his wife is showing him similar slides right about now." Rachel's face went from red to white. "What did you do?" Patricia and I compared notes. Turns out cheetahs hate when their victims work together. Who knew? Rachel's mother found her voice. "Patricia? Marcus's wife?" "The same. Nice woman. Works hard. Doesn't deserve this any more than I do." I looked at Rachel, really looked at her, and felt nothing but disgust. "You made me doubt myself. You made me feel crazy for noticing things were off. You let me take care of you while you were really just coming home from screwing another woman's husband in our bed, Rachel, on our anniversary." That last detail, which I discovered from the security footage and saved for maximum impact, made her mother actually gasp out loud. Rachel was crying now, mascara running down her face. "Daniel, please, we can talk about this. It was a mistake. I love you." "No." I cut her off. "You don't get to do that. You don't get to cry and play the victim. You made your choice every time you lied to me. Every time you let me make you tea while you were really recovering from fucking him. Every time you looked me in the eye and promised you were just tired or stressed or sick." Her father moved towards me, and for a second I thought he might actually throw a punch. Instead, he turned to Rachel. "Get your things. You're not staying here." "Daddy." "Now, Rachel." The room cleared out fast after that. Her family couldn't leave quickly enough, dragging Rachel with them despite her protests. Her sister wouldn't even look at her. Her mother kept apologizing to me, which somehow made it worse. They knew the kind of person they'd raised, and they were ashamed. When the door finally closed behind them, I stood alone in my suddenly too quiet house, surrounded by half-eaten turkey and abandoned wine glasses. I picked up my phone and texted Patricia. "How'd it go?" Her response came immediately. He cried in front of his parents. His father called him a disgrace. "I'm filing tomorrow. Thank you."
"Thank you too," I typed back. "We made a good team." "The best revenge is the truth," she replied, and we gave them both barrels. I poured myself a bourbon and sat on the couch, the same couch where I'd watched my wife betray me through security footage. Tomorrow I'd probably burn this thing, but tonight I just sat there, feeling the weight of the day settle around me. My phone buzzed. Rachel was texting from her mother's house begging me to reconsider, saying she'd made a terrible mistake, that Marcus had manipulated her, that she wanted to fix things. I blocked her number without responding. She'd have plenty of time to explain herself to her lawyer.
Over the next few weeks, the fallout continued in waves. Rachel's workplace somehow found out about the affair. Not from me, but apparently Marcus had been stupid enough to use his work email for some of their messages, and someone had forwarded them to HR. Both of them got reprimanded. Small-town gossip did the rest. Patricia kept me updated. Marcus had moved into an apartment above a pizza shop. His kids weren't speaking to him. His parents had taken Patricia's side completely, still coming by to see their grandchildren and treating their son like a stranger. Rachel tried to fight the divorce, claiming I'd violated her privacy and the evidence was inadmissible. Linda, my shark lawyer, laughed that argument out of court. Turns out, when you commit adultery in a state that considers it in divorce proceedings, your privacy concerns take a back seat. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen this story before. She looked at Rachel with the kind of cold disappointment that probably hurt worse than any yelling could have. The divorce was finalized in January. Rachel got her car, her clothes, and a wake-up call. I kept the house, my dignity, and a newfound appreciation for security cameras. Patricia and I stayed in touch. Not romantically, we both needed time to heal, but as friends who'd been through war together. She sent me a card on Valentine's Day that read, "Happy Freedom Day," with a picture of a bird breaking out of a cage. I laughed until I cried. 6 months after that Thanksgiving, I was sitting on my back porch with a beer, watching the sunset when my neighbor stopped by. He'd seen the whole thing unfold, the moving trucks, the gossip, the works. "How you doing, Dan?" he asked. "Better," I said honestly. "Much better." "Good. You deserved better than that." He paused. "You know, my wife and I always thought you two were the perfect couple." I took a long drink of my beer. "Yeah, well, so did I. Turns out the only perfect thing about us was how perfectly she lied." He chuckled awkwardly and changed the subject to sports. After he left, I sat there thinking about Rachel, about Marcus, about all the choices that led us to that moment. I didn't hate her anymore. Hate requires too much energy, and she'd already stolen enough of my time. My phone buzzed with a text from a woman I'd met at a coffee shop the week before. Just a casual conversation that had turned into an exchange of numbers. She was asking if I wanted to grab dinner sometime. Nothing serious, just two people seeing where things might go. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "I'd like that." Life moves on. The truth had set me free, and revenge had just been watching Rachel face the consequences of her own choices. Sometimes the best payback isn't elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's just refusing to be the fool anymore, walking away with your head high and letting them live with what they've done. I took another sip of beer and smiled at the sunset. Yeah, I was doing much better indeed. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole mess. If this story taught me anything, it's that the truth always finds a way out, and sometimes the best revenge is just living well while they deal with the consequences of their choices. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know if this kind of drama happens everywhere, or if my hometown just has a special talent for it. Maybe your city has better morals than Charlotte, North Carolina. Or maybe you've got even crazier stories. Either way, I want to hear from you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, whether they're going through something similar or they just love a good revenge tale, hit that share button. Sometimes people need to know they're not alone and that standing up for yourself isn't crazy, it's necessary. Stay strong out there, folks, and remember, trust your gut. It usually knows before your heart is ready to admit it.